tram, we'll kick one too. Stay up all night and start again. It's gonna be a long one. See more places than people can. Fantastic journeys, foreign land. Hours of mountain, years of sand. It's gonna be a long one. We're on the road again. There's no stopping us. We're on the road. We're on the road again. There's no stopping us. We're on the road. And when we're on the road, there's no stopping us. And when we're on the road, there's no stopping us. And when we're on the road, there's no stopping us. Tough when you're feeling rough, you can feel alone when far from home. No need to fear, the boys are near when it's gonna be a long one. We're on the road again, there's no stopping us. We're on the road. We're on the road again, there's no stopping us. We're on the road. We're on the road again, there's no stopping us. Stopping us. We're on the road.
Welcome to Glasgow, Scotland, and to the opening ceremony of the 11th ITS European Congress. We are so excited to have your participation and attendance at this year's European Congress. It really is going to be a fantastic week of discussions, networking and discoveries. Before we look ahead of this week, let's first look back at the past 2 years of ITS Congresses. It was only a few months ago that we met in Bordeaux at the 22nd ITS World Congress, when thousands of participants experienced ITS at its very best. And before that, it was our pleasure hosting you all in Helsinki for the 10th ITS European Congress in 2014. But now to Glasgow. From the European Programme Committee and local organising committee meetings to the organisation, testing and assembly of our demonstration showcase, to the planning and implementation of the exhibition hall, the organisers, hosts, supporters, session organisers, demonstrators, exhibitors and sponsors have all done their best to prepare for a week of enthusiastic and informative knowledge sharing. Over 90 exhibitors spread across 5,000 square metres of exhibition space, 4 interactive demonstrations, 5 different technical visits, and social events. There will be a lot to see and do this week. As well as this year's ITS European Congress, we really hope you get the chance during the week to experience everything that the vibrant city of Glasgow has to offer. We would like to thank all of our speakers, exhibitors, demonstrators, sponsors, all of the European Committee members and the organising team for your support in making this European Congress a reality. We welcome you to the 11th ITS European Congress.
Hello, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. A very, very warm welcome to the 11th ITS European Congress. I'm Melinda Crane, and it will be my pleasure to accompany you throughout this opening ceremony and plenary as a moderator, and also at tomorrow morning's second plenary. And it's just great to be back in the ITS community and to see so many familiar faces. You are all part of delivering future cities now, which of course is the theme of this 11th Congress. As you well know, information and communication technologies are already transforming urban mobility. They're reducing greenhouse gas emissions, relieving congestion, boosting economic and energy efficiency, and of course, promoting safety. But you hardly need me to remind you that the process is complex and disruptive. Greater connectivity involves many different actors and demands new approaches to business models, to markets, to regulatory frameworks. So over the next few days, we want to explore with a whole array of stakeholders, with policymakers, industry leaders, scientists, and researchers, what all of us can contribute to support and speed the deployment of ITS. And we will be doing that later this afternoon in a plenary discussion. Throughout the Congress, we'll also be highlighting innovations and sharing best practices, starting with our Best Paper Awards at the close of this ceremony. And you'll also have an opportunity to experience for yourself what the magnificent city of Glasgow is doing to promote connectivity. The Congress organizers have planned some fascinating demonstrations and visits. So there's a lot to look forward to. And before we get started, just one more brief word on various logistical and other hints. First of all, we do have a Congress app, and you can download it. Hopefully, yes, here you find the instructions. The app is Glasgow 2016, as I understand, and you will find many enticing reasons to use the app, starting with the fact that you can rate the sessions during the Congress. You can also answer some audience questions that we want to put to you both in connection with the panel today and with the panel tomorrow morning. Those questions are already open for voting, and we're really eager to get a wide range of feedback, so please take a look at those. And you can also fill in our survey during the course of the Congress and thereby possibly win a free pass for the next ITS European Congress. So lots of good reasons to go on our app. Please do so. And now it is my pleasure to hand over the stage for a word of greeting on behalf of Ertico ITS Europe from Mr. Kees de Vries. He is Ertico Supervisory Board Chair. Kees, the stage is yours.
Dear Bailey, Liz Cameron, dear Mr. Hughes, Gillis from Transport Scotland, dear Mr. Parkinson from Department of Transport, dear distinguished guests from the European Commission, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear ITS friends. On behalf of the Scottish host, Glasgow City Council and Transport Scotland, the Ertico Partnership and the ITS bodies across Europe, I'm honored and delighted to open the 11th ITS European Congress here in this beautiful city of Glasgow. A warm welcome to all of you. We are experiencing an exciting time at the moment in our ITS world, with basically three major trends revolutionizing mobility in modern cities. And these are cooperative urban ITS, urban freight logistics, and mobility as a service. And these three trends will not only gain momentum through the coming years, but are most likely to converge at an increasing speed. And that convergence, as we saw already in Bordeaux, is heavily driven by data exchange and connectivity. And data exchange and connectivity are likely to break down the silo thinking that has been true for quite a while in our mobility environment. And that's why the Ertico Partnership is focusing on three priorities to help breaking down these silos. And these three priorities are mobility as a service, cooperative and automated driving, and ITS for freight and logistics. Delivering future cities now is an excellent theme and very valid for the mobility as a service movement. Remember, that movement was triggered 2 years ago at our ITS Europe Congress in Helsinki, and has resulted recently in a unique Mobility as a Service Alliance founded by several Ertico partners. It is essential now for that alliance to meet the needs and the expectations of citizens to improve quality of life, but also to tackle climate change by driving coherent European-wide deployment. On cooperative and automated driving, Ertico has helped to create the foundations of the current cooperative ITS platform, highly supported by the European Commission. And earlier during the day, we got an update from the European Commission on how we take forward the cooperative ITS master plan and how the team is working on related delegated acts. In addition, important steps were recently made, guided by the Dutch EU presidency, on truck platooning. I think an excellent teamwork between ASEA, CEDER, IRU, truck manufacturers, and the Ministry of Transport in the Netherlands. And second, the Declaration of Amsterdam. This declaration puts automated driving on the political agenda for the coming years and sets directions for pan-European deployment. On behalf of the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure and Environment, I will show you a very brief video recap of these recent events.
Since its invention over 130 years ago, the automobile has undergone a profound transformation. And recently, this evolution has become a revolution, with systems that take over more and more tasks from the driver. And cars are also becoming more connected with their environments. Bringing the developments of connected driving and automated driving together is crucial in order to improve safety, improve traffic flows, and reduce emissions.
I want to show you that there are opportunities for us and that we all have to play a role.
But these developments also bring new challenges for industry and governments.
And a joint declaration is the first step in which the EU member states, the European Commission and the car manufacturers agree joint goals.
Joint goals, joint actions and learning by experience. The Netherlands took the initiative to organize the European Truck Platooning Challenge. Driving trucks of different brands in columns on public roads from several European cities to the Netherlands. Together with other governments, truck industry, logistics services and research institutes, we worked on a common goal and were faced with a lot of challenges, like the different legal distances between vehicles and divergent national procedures. Together, these challenges were overcome, showing more structural solutions are needed. And to underline the future is near, we showed the ministers what is already possible.
We will all experience what it is like to be driven around in automated cars on the public road through Amsterdam. I expect it to be exciting and memorable event, and I want to thank you all very much for your support.
With the Declaration of Amsterdam, Europe has taken an important step to make connected and automated driving a step closer.
Yeah, delivering future cities now refers clearly to innovation and anticipation through leadership. This Congress is about helping you to anticipate better, strengthen your leadership in achieving your policy goals, and helping shaping our mobility future as it comes day by day. I wish you all success in this adventure and hope you will have an inspiring Congress during the coming days here in beautiful Glasgow. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Kees de Vries, and we will in fact be picking up on a number of the themes that we saw in that video, both the promise and the challenges later on in our panel discussion. But just for the moment, let us stay in beautiful Glasgow. Our host city, ladies and gentlemen, admirably illustrates the way in which ITS can help link the best of the old with the most innovative of the new. Glasgow and ITS go back quite a long way together, as I discovered when I began researching our host city. This was, in fact, the first European city and only the second city internationally to commission a computerized traffic signal control system back in 1967. Let's hear now what Glasgow's been doing lately to be in the forefront of the world's future cities. Please welcome, from Glasgow City Council, Bailey Liz Cameron.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my happy task this afternoon to welcome you to Glasgow, our dear green place, on behalf of the Lord Provost and on behalf of the City Council. You may wonder why I'm standing here wearing enchained, as they say. I'm one of the Deputy Provosts of the city, which in this city we call Bailey. But I think as importantly as that, and very much a focal point of what I wish to talk about this afternoon, is that I am very proud and privileged to be the chair of the Education Service in Glasgow and therefore the political voice of 75,000 children in this city whom I regard as my adopted wains. It's my great pleasure to join you today to mark the 11th Intelligent Transport Systems European Congress. And I have to say, as a city, we place great emphasis on making sure visitors are well received. And those of you from ITS whom I met in Brussels when we were putting together the bid will remember that I said to you that whatever else you would experience in Glasgow, you'd certainly experience a very warm welcome. I didn't realise that I was actually being a prophet, because usually when people come here in the summer, my advice to them is bring 2 umbrellas in case you lose one on the way. But obviously a warm welcome to Glasgow is exactly what you're having in so many different senses. And I must tell you that we are as surprised as you are that Glasgow basks in the sun. The great thing about it is, of course, that it makes our city look even more beautiful and confirms me, as a former mayor of the city and as education convener, in my passion for this wonderful, dear green place. While you're here, I hope you will have a chance to look around the city, as well as seeing much of the innovation that our Land and Environmental Services Department and the Strathclyde Passenger Transport Executive are putting forward in the city. And one of the most important aspects of the city that you will come across is, of course, Glaswegians themselves. Famed for their wit, wisdom and friendly chatter, it says here. That actually means famed for their curiosity and nosiness. They will ask you everything about yourself. If you wish to be taken somewhere, they'll normally go with you. And of course, once you penetrate the Glasgow slang and argot, you will find them absolutely wonderful people. They make our city unique. They make me laugh every day of my life. And at that point, I remember that our brand fits this city perfectly. From Glasgow, Scotland with Style, we moved some years ago to People Make Glasgow. And I have to say to you, that cost a fraction of the PR and advertising funding that we would have had to do had we commissioned an outside body, PR company. Who did we commission? We commissioned the people of Glasgow, who came up with the slogan after quite an extended campaign and consultation themselves. And the great thing about it is, from your point of view, ladies and gentlemen, we can use this slogan over and over again. People make Glasgow a learning city. People make Glasgow transport work. People make Glasgow a cultural city. People make Glasgow a sporting city. And we're so proud of that particular logo. I'm confident that you will enjoy your time here as much as we enjoy having you. Of course, you're here for business, and hugely important business at that. As the political voice of education, childhood, lifelong learning in the city, I'm aware of the huge, indeed essential importance to any city of a sustainable, successful, connected transport system. And I have to say to you, I must declare an interest here. It was wonderful to see all the cars and the trucks and the trains in Amsterdam's film. But I consider myself to be a dedicated user of public transport. I haven't driven since the day that I was elected to council 24 years ago. Although my husband would tell you that is when, the reason for that is when he took me out for my second driving lesson, I did £1,400 worth of damage to his car and £2,000 worth of damage to the wall through which I drove it. I have found, however, that it's a great, great bonus as someone who represents the public to travel with them. I travel by bus every day, and not only do I keep in touch with the people, but I keep in touch with what they think about transport, about the city, about the environment, about our intelligent city, about our smart city, about our future cities project, and they're not shy in coming to tell me. The day that I was elected Provost, Mayor of the city, some 8 years ago, I proudly got on the bus home, forgetting it was the bus that went into my area and so everybody would know my face. I sat there with my book and I read it as the bus turned corners and went up hills and went through the city. And then I heard the whispers, "It's no her. It must be, no, it's no. Can he be the Provost?" So I put down my book and I said, "Yes, actually, I am the new Lord Provost and I'm delighted still to be travelling by bus." And I was basking in adulation for about 2 seconds till the man in front of me turned round and said, "Well, I'm glad you're here, Hen, because see this bus service, it's positively diabolical." And I have to say that the frontispiece of my novel was covered with surgery cases by the time I got home. As I say, you're here for very important business, and obviously the officers within the council will be taking you through all that and all the marvellous work that we're doing in Glasgow, in transport and in other areas of regeneration economy and education. But I think it would be remiss of me not to take this opportunity to tell you about my amazing city, and that's what I'm here to do. If you're here for the first time, or even if you are familiar with our city, I hope you'll get some time to explore, preferably before the torrential rain starts, which is due to be here about noon tomorrow. And the thing about torrential rain in Glasgow is it isn't like torrential continental rain, where it rains and then it's over in half an hour. Once it starts here, you're talking about 2 months. Glasgow's renowned as a city of culture, and a city with a thriving arts and music scene. We have an amazing list of free visitor attractions to explore and enjoy, including the Kelvin Grove Museum and Art Gallery, which is my own particular baby. Since as Chair of Culture, I piloted its refurbishment. And the Riverside Museum of Transport, which I would recommend to all of you, the People's Palace, which is our own People's History Museum, and St Mungo's Museum of Religious Life and Art. For those of you who are interested, and of course I'm not, Glasgow is a shopper's paradise, with over 1,500 shops, making it the second largest retail centre in the United Kingdom outside of London. I have to say this is really important because it is one of the ways which has paved crucial development in the economy of the modern city. And here's where I come into my own, wearing another hat. If you're looking for some peace and quiet away from the city buzz, then our wonderful green space is always within an easy walk of the city centre. Glasgow is Dear Green Place in Gaelic, and the city lives up to its name with over 90 parks and gardens. Our patron, our founder, who is on my chain, surrounded by fish, for reasons that you will find out about later, was St Mungo, the patron saint and first bishop, and probably first provost or mayor of the city. You think of this city as Victorian, and it is, but actually it was founded around about the year 700. Now, I hate to dwell on this, but St Mungo had very many miracles happen to him, of fish and rings and bells and trees. But the one that nobody knows about is that one night an angel appeared to him and gave him a magic gift, a holy gift, a cloak. Now, unlike Harry Potter's cloak, which guarantees invisibility, this cloak was a prerequisite for one who was to become Bishop of Glasgow, because it was a cloak that warded off water. I have to say there's not more appropriate gift for somebody who was the first bishop of this rainy city. We're delighted that we regularly host conferences here, and of course you're very, very important to us. Part of that has got to do with the fact that we're a world-class learning city, and Glasgow is a city that values that wonderful resource. We love to attract people from across the globe like yourselves, sharing news and views about the latest developments in science, medicine, engineering, transport, finance, and of course teaching and learning. We have 3 universities in the city: the University of Glasgow, Glasgow Caledonian, where I sometimes teach, and the University of Strathclyde, which attract the very best talent from across the world and are also leading and respected centres of research. And indeed, from those universities will come the engineers and the scientists and the technologists who work on transport systems. These institutions have produced some of our most influential thinkers, including Adam Smith, Lord Kelvin, absolute zero, James Watt, steam condenser, and John Logie Baird. We also have, and these are very close to my heart, 2 higher education institutes in the city: Glasgow School of Art, which you must see. It was, of course, designed by the most famous Scot of all in architecture or artistic terms, Charles Rennie Mackintosh. and the National Conservatoire. Now bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to make too much of this, but the National Conservatoire and the national companies of this wonderful country, Scotland, are located not in the capital, but here in Glasgow. And that gives me enormous satisfaction to say. Scots will tell you why. Glasgow's very proud of its internationalist outlook, and we recognise that all that we do in Glasgow, from transport systems to the future city, to resilient city, through to relevant higher education, are fundamental to our country's success. Ladies and gentlemen, when I was a child, there were 47 working shipyards on the Clyde, and now there are 2. But we have always been makers, and whilst our city was built on the back of the heavy industries like shipbuilding, locomotive building, engineering, mining and steel, Glasgow's talent for reinvention means that it is now as well known for its art and innovation. We have always been makers, once of ships, steel, locomotives, engines, now of design, of green, low-carbon engineering, of precision medicine, and of research. And ladies and gentlemen, Glasgow is a smart city, and you'll be hearing much more about this throughout the week. Recently crowned European Entrepreneurial Region of the Year, shortlisted for the European Capital of Innovation Award, and the first resilient city chosen by the Rockefeller Foundation. Oh, and I should mention that 2 years ago, we were not made European Green Capital. Bristol got the title, but we decided, being Glasgow, we were doing it anyway, and we did it superbly. Our strapline was from steam to green, and we carry on with that greening of the city now and into the future. Now, I know you'll enjoy your time here. I know you'll carry fond memories of Glasgow and Glaswegians when you leave. I know you'll come back to visit us, but I also know that you will be pleased, surprised perhaps, and very, very contented with the number of innovations in transport, in engineering, in medicine, in right across all the things that Glasgow does, all the innovation that is taking place in our dear green place. Please do enjoy your conference. Please have a wonderful time discussing and sharing, but also try and see parts of this fabulous city which has defied all expectation and risen from the dead after its loss of every industry in the city to become a vibrant, dynamic, friendly and wonderful place. Thank you very much indeed.
Cameron, thank you very much for that indeed very, very warm welcome. And as Bailey Cameron reminded us, Glasgow does have aspirations to be a forerunner when it comes to smart technologies, and the same goes for the country as a whole. Scotland's Digital Future Strategy lays out a key role for connectivity in the country as a whole, and recognizes the need for strong collaboration between national and local policymakers to make connected infrastructure a reality by 2020. The government has committed, in fact, to the largest transport investment program that Scotland has ever seen. For a word of welcome from Transport Scotland, it is my pleasure now to hand over the stage to its Director of Trunk Road and Bus Operations, Hugh Gillis.
Well, good afternoon, and I'm still smiling about Bailey Cameron's delivery. My speech is on two sides. What a tour de force. How did the organisers get that to follow on from that fantastic warm welcome to Glasgow from Bailey Cameron? But I'm here, of course, representing Transport Scotland. As I said, my name's Hugh Gillis, Director of Trunk Roads and Bus Operations, and Transport Scotland, of course, is the Scottish Government's national transport agency. I would like to thank Melinda for her warm welcome, and also to welcome, on behalf of Transport Scotland and the Scottish Government, Vertical ITS Europe and their partners here to Scotland for the next 4 days. I hope you enjoy your conference, and we will obviously participate along with Glasgow and all of Scotland's industry and as part of that. Also welcome to comrades from UK Government and from the Commission. We in Transport Scotland are immensely proud to be co-hosting with Glasgow this year's Congress for reasons which I will let perhaps Mr Hamza Yousaf, who's about to give you an address, who's our Minister, an address. But I suppose if I was to dwell on anything, I think it's entirely appropriate that we do share the honour of co-hosting, because in many ways we've grown up together in terms of ITS. I myself, like many of my colleagues who work for Transport Scotland, used to work for Glasgow City Council or Strathclyde Regional Council. So we share a lot of our past and history together, and that does, as we've heard already, stretch back to the 1970s. And to be successful as a country, we need to continue to work together in terms of ITS, both with Glasgow as a city, but with our local authority partners right across Scotland. And it's entirely appropriate that we do so. One of the challenges we've set ourselves going forward is we had a highly successful ITS strategy which took us forward, and you'll see some of you who are going through tomorrow to see our traffic control centre at South Queensferry, the National Traffic Control Centre, what we did and how that culminated in delivery of that 10-year strategy, and it's about thinking ahead. And we'll use the next 4 days as a learning experience to help inform that. A short speech from me. I just really wanted to say I hope you enjoy the Congress. I hope you enjoy the technical and social event. Please do visit the exhibition, and I think it's entirely appropriate that we say a word of thanks to sponsors and to the exhibitors for being here. And I will just close by introducing a short address by Mr Hamza Yousaf, the MSP, our Minister for Transport and Islands, and he would like to give his video address. But thank you very much.
As Minister for Transport and the Islands, I'm delighted to welcome you all to Scotland for the 11th ITS European Congress. In Scotland here we have a proud heritage in the history and development of ITS systems and services, from the unique gantry and traffic control systems on the M8 around Glasgow of the 1970s and 80s, through to the development of the national traffic control systems in the 90s, right the way through to today's extensive network of modern ITS systems and the leading Edge Traffic Scotland National Control Centre at South Queensferry, which I had the pleasure of visiting just a few days ago. It was fascinating whilst there to see this in action and learn about the intricate technology that allows us to keep Scotland's roads running smoothly. I also heard from my officials at Transport Scotland how they're looking to make exciting improvements through the development of new ITS strategy. It will certainly be a team effort with all of our partners, and I look forward to seeing the progress that we make in that. I'm sure you will have a fantastic Congress, and I hope you will take the opportunity while you're here, of course, to think and to talk about what the future holds for ITS systems and services. But also, I hope you get a little bit of a break, a bit of a chance to enjoy our famous Scottish hospitality, and who knows, maybe we've even put the sun out for you today.
The Minister just reminded us of the benefits of team effort, and as you well know, ladies and gentlemen, delivering really effective connectivity is also a team effort. It demands a systemic approach and requires linking up cities not only to the larger metropolitan area, but across regional and even national borders. So let us hear now from the United Kingdom's Department of Transport. Please welcome John Parkinson. He's Director of Motoring, Freight and London. I think there's more to that card, but it seems to have disappeared. So welcome, Mr. Parkinson.
Thank you very much. The perils of having too long a job title. Good afternoon, everybody. It's really great to be here in Glasgow, and it's a really exciting time to be discussing intelligent transport systems. The UK, like many other European countries, faces a range of mobility challenges, including increasing urbanisation, worsening congestion, and an ageing population. There are already 35.6 million vehicles on British roads, and traffic is forecast to grow by as much as 55% by 2040, so we must find new approaches. ITS offers a range of potential solutions, enabling better use of road space and better traffic flow, resulting in fuel savings, improved air quality, and wider economic benefits. These technologies could also prevent as many as 2,500 deaths on UK roads by 2030. And fully autonomous vehicles could increase productivity, freeing up to 56 minutes per day and providing mobility for those who currently don't have it, perhaps due to age or disability. The UK government welcomes these developments, and we're open for business. Our Code of Practice, The Pathway to Driverless Cars, published last year, makes this clear, highlighting our light touch approach to regulation. For example, special permits are not needed for testing on UK roads. In December 2014, the government announced £33 million worth of investment in driverless car trials in Greenwich in South East London, Milton Keynes and Coventry, and Bristol. And last year, we established the Centre for Connected and Autonomous Vehicles to coordinate action across government to help ensure that the UK remains a world leader in developing and testing connected and autonomous vehicles. Of course, I cannot welcome overseas delegates to the UK without mentioning the weather, and we've already heard a bit about that. We believe that the UK offers an unparalleled physical environment for testing, deploying and evaluating these new technologies, including a wide range of infrastructure and, as we've heard, extremely varied weather conditions. All of which led Wired.com to say last year that the UK had become the best place on earth to develop self-driving cars. There's so much going on. In January, we announced the first round of winners of the £100 million Intelligent Mobility funding, including investment in the exciting UK City project. The project, which provides a joint urban and interurban testbed for a variety of communication technologies, is showcasing its work at the Congress today. Last month, the Queen announced plans for a modern transport bill, which will, amongst other things, enable our insurance framework to facilitate the introduction of automated technologies. And of course, we're starting the detailed design of the A2-M2 London to Dover connected vehicle corridor, which will form part of an interoperable network of such corridors across Europe. We believe that this corridor is a unique testbed. It starts in the heart of London at the Blackwall Tunnel and finishes at the Port of Dover with links to the local road network in Kent. Delivering services and infrastructure in partnership with Highways England, Transport for London and Kent County Council will ensure a cohesive, connected network across different types of roads. We believe that as well as national level trials like this, ITS needs to be driven at the local level. We've recently carried out a wide-ranging review of ITS in our towns, cities and counties, and we will discuss the findings at this conference. We're also investing in parking schemes, which will deliver information and the ability to pay into the vehicle. The scheme in Westminster in London is the subject of a special interest session tomorrow. I've only been able to scratch the surface in the few minutes available, but you'll be able to see and hear more about these developments and much else this week. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parkinson. Ladies and gentlemen, we meet here in Glasgow at a very timely moment, for as you know, it's been just about 6 weeks since world leaders met in New York to sign the Paris Climate Agreement. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has said that the battle against climate change will be won or lost in cities. The European Union agrees. It sees digitalization and sustainable urbanization as absolutely crucial in realizing its 2030 targets for decarbonization. The EU's Commissioner for Transport had hoped to be with us personally, but unfortunately she has had to remain in Brussels in order to attend an important meeting that was scheduled at short notice. But she sent us this message. We hear now from Commissioner Violeta Bulc.
Dear participants, it is my pleasure to address you, even though it is only via video link. While this exciting conference is going on, my presence is needed at the Transport Council in Luxembourg. One of my priorities is to support and encourage the digitalization of transport to meet the emerging needs of people and businesses. But even more, to address new models and opportunities and to help EU industries to take the lead globally. The ITS Congress is a flagship transport event that brings people together and conveys new leads. It creates space for collaboration, exchange of best practices, and it promotes new innovative ideas. ITS stands for better efficiency, new value-added solutions, and exciting new business models. If we want to deploy ITS fast and effectively, we need to engage all actors. We need the entire value network to work together, so events like this are indispensable. I'm very happy that the urban dimension of ITS is so visible this year at the Congress. Over 70% of EU inhabitants live in urban areas, creating over 80% of EU GDP. At the same time, road transport accounts for 40% of emissions in cities. ITS solutions such as multimodal travel information services, smart ticketing, connected and automated driving, e-call, and solutions like electronic charging will make our transport system safer, better managed, and more responsive in our cities and beyond. ITS is also an important part of the TEN-T and Connecting Europe facilities. Over the last 2 years, we allocated 280 million euros in funding to this topic. And as part of the Horizon 2020 research program, over 45 million euros has been allocated to it, covering multimodal travel and transport data. Furthermore, an additional 75 million euro has just been announced for additional ITS projects, this time with a focus on connected vehicles and large-scale research demonstration of automated vehicles. So, ladies and gentlemen, the EU stands ready to assist and take decisive steps, especially where common EU goals and needs of citizens and businesses are being addressed and where we see your constructive approach. 2016 will be an important year for ITS in Europe with the forthcoming Master Plan on CITS and delegated regulation of the ITS Directive. I wish you a fruitful discussions at this Congress. Let a bold spirit prevail, and please let me know about your outcomes.
The Commissioner just reminded us about the benefits for citizens that can be derived from ITS, and indeed the EU's digitalization strategy very clearly recognizes not only economic and environmental gains from connectivity, but also social and cultural ones. By expanding access and by expanding inclusion, such technologies, smart technologies, can of course absolutely enhance the vibrance of city life. We heard a bit earlier about just how vibrant Glasgow is, and in fact, it proves to us that a future city, the kind of future city we'll be talking about throughout the Congress, is one that has a very clear sense of where it's coming from and where it's going. We now enjoy a brief cultural intermezzo, Glasgow's cultural roots. Highland dancers there, ladies and gentlemen. And I know if there's an audience out there that can appreciate precision, timing, and exact and elegant teamwork, then surely you are they. So I think a very impressive demonstration there of some very, very fancy and elegant footwork. As you know, deploying ICT requires cooperation and requires collaboration on the part of the team, and in fact that is a theme we are going to be picking up throughout the conference in our discussions. And now, as the closing speaker in this part of our opening ceremony, let us hear a word of welcome from a speaker who represents a company that has made cooperation a core part of its business model. He is unfortunately not on the card that I have in my hand, but I will very much welcome the speaker from Amy, and he will give us his name himself, and I apologize, sir, for not bringing my card with me. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody, and if Hugh thought it was difficult following Bailey Cameron, imagine how I feel following dancers there. But fantastic. I must say my calves were aching just watching that, actually. Fantastic. Yes, my name's David Spencer, and very proud to stand up in front of you representing Amy this afternoon. Amy, for those of you that don't know, is a leading infrastructure support services organisation in the UK and increasingly internationally. But we're particularly proud of all the work we do here in Scotland, and ITS is a key part of that. So, as a leading sponsor for this 11th ITS European Congress, very pleased to be sponsoring it. The demand for smart technology, I guess, has never been greater than it is today. The world's urban population is growing, vehicle ownership is rising, and traffic congestion represents one of the single greatest costs imposed on our citizens, and I guess one of the largest constraints on efficient economic growth. At the same time, perhaps we're very fortunate that we're seeing also an exponential growth in the potential capability of smart technology. Technology that will help us address many of these challenges. I feel we're in the very early days of a digital revolution that is revolutionizing the way we collect, process and use data to improve efficiency, reduce risks and drive up the performance of our transport networks. One aspect we feel at Amy of this digital revolution is our growing ability to be able to consider things in increasing levels of detail and disaggregate both our management of assets and the services we provide to travellers. Increasingly, we can develop and deploy management regimes for individual assets, or even individual asset components, significantly improving their performance, improving safety, and reducing maintenance costs. Similarly, we can increase and provide discrete journey opportunities and plans for individual travellers, whether that be by mode, time of day, the route they take, all integrated with their particular journey purpose in mind. As mobility continues to increase, so too does the need for us to be able to inform travellers using different modes of travel for their journeys and travelling using the same assets to a mixture of destinations, whether that be local, national or international. Our collective challenge, therefore, of all of us is to ensure that we can employ the latest emerging technologies and apply it successfully to the transport arena in order to keep ahead with traveller expectations wherever we can, the growing market demands and the consequences of these increasing demands and expectations. We at Amy feel we're in the midst of this and we're excited by these challenges and opportunities. We recognise that we have an important role to play in the midst of this revolution in transport network management. In many ways, perhaps, there has never been a better time to be a transport professional, though I guess future generations will be the judge of that in terms of whether we've risen to these challenges. Here in Scotland, as I've mentioned before, we're proud to be involved using technology, and it's an increasingly important aspect of our work. It's been really pleasing, but more than pleasing, it's been an absolute pleasure to see the latest accident statistics on the A9, for instance, where, working with Transport Scotland, we've introduced an average speed camera system there, and to see the results of that in the early stage has been tremendous. Likewise, on the Forth Road Bridge recently, where unexpectedly that had to be closed last December, pushing the boundaries of digital understanding of the performance of that structure and linking it to our structural computer model allowed us to effect that repair and open that bridge much sooner than was expected by the communities that rely on that asset being in place for them. So as I've mentioned, Amy, we're delighted to be involved with this 11th ITS European Congress. These 2 days will provide us all with a great opportunity to keep abreast of the latest developments, to challenge some of the traditional ideas and ways of thinking, to network, of course, with fellow professionals. I know we have a great agenda ahead of us, and I wish everyone an enjoyable and stimulating few days here in the city of Glasgow. Thank you very much.
Many thanks to you, David Spencer, and to Amy for sponsoring the 11th ITS European Congress. And Amy, now that I have found my cards again, I can remind everyone, because in fact you were a bit modest in your description, is the UK's fastest growing engineering consultancy, as well as one of its leading public and regulated service providers in the transport sector. So we're all very, very grateful to Amy for its support. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard a number of claims in regard to the potential benefits that ITS can offer for making cities of the future greener, more prosperous, and more inclusive. Let us focus now in our first plenary discussion of the Congress on what it will take to realize that potential more rapidly and more widely. So far, the shift to autonomy, it is they who, as consumers, will have to pay, at least in part, for connectivity. How do we clearly visualize and allocate both the benefits and the costs of deploying ITS? Who will pay for crucial supporting infrastructure? Where does the business case simply need to be spelled out? And in what areas does it in fact remain unclear? Or, in other words, if we want quicker deployment, who needs convincing and how? We have an impressive array of speakers to address those questions, and I am honored now to ask them to please come to the stage, and then I'll introduce them when they're with us here on stage. So it's a great pleasure to welcome Magda Kopczynska. She's Director for Innovation and Sustainable Mobility at the European Commission Directorate General for Mobility and Transport, DG Move. Very warm welcome to you, Magda.
Thank you, Melinda. Talking about long job titles, that was another example.
That's so true. And on my other side, Mr. Morten Kabel is Mayor for Technical and Environmental Affairs for the city of Copenhagen, which aspires to become the first carbon-neutral capital in the world in 2025. His focus is to transform transport systems and traffic patterns to raise the share of citizens using bicycles and public transportation. And Copenhagen will also be the host of the 25th ITS World Congress in 2018. Great that you can be with us.
Thank you.
And it is my pleasure to welcome Jacob Bansgaard. He is responsible for the mobility activities of the International Automotive Federation, FIA, in Europe, and also in the Middle East and Africa. And he supports the automobile clubs from the Region 1 headquarters in Brussels, Belgium. Great to have you with us. And finally, a pleasure to welcome Eric Jonert. He's Secretary General of the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, ASEA, which celebrated its 25th anniversary this year by launching a manifesto for clean, safe, and smart mobility. Great that you can be with us as well. And By the way, dear audience, we will be looking for your input during the discussion in the form of some audience questions that we're going to be putting to you. So if you haven't yet downloaded our app or found out where to find it, this would be a moment to try to do that. And in fact, I see they've already put one of those questions up there, but I'm sure not all of you had voted. So please do add your votes to that too, and we're going to come to that question a bit later on in our discussion. I'd like to begin here on the panel by asking all of you to answer a simple question that often seems to provoke rather complex answers. And I'll start with you, Magda. And the question is, do end users want automation, and will they be willing to pay for it?
That's obviously a tricky question, but I think it clearly hits at the responsibility of policymakers, but also of industry and all stakeholders to make sure that we explain to the end users what it is that we are talking about when we are talking about connected cars, about automation, what are the benefits that it can bring to them, but also what are the risks that are involved with that. So I don't think people just want or don't want things. They have to know what we are talking about, and then you can have a dialogue with them about that.
Thank you very much. Mayor Kabel, how do you see it? Sorry, not Mayor Kabel, but Martin Kabel, how do you see it?
Do we want it? That's a good question. I think it's very precise when it's in the introduction. It said that it's more of a technological push than it's actually something that we as users want. For me, it's not about the technology. I mean, I'm a great sci-fi fan. And I love all the ideas. I'm very tired of now being in the and so late in the 21st century, and we still haven't got the flying cars that we were promised in the books of my childhood. But I'm like, is it necessary? I mean, when I look at city planning, I see what is beneficial to the city, and how do we actually create more efficient cities. And I'm not sure that we actually need or want more cars on the streets, more congestion, want more cars. It's out there. What I actually want is more efficient mobility for all of us. And I'm not sure that an automated car is the answer to that need.
Okay. How do you see it? Do you think end users want this technology, and what will they pay to get it?
I think that you mentioned in...
It should be, I think so. You can hear Mr. Bansgaard, can't you?
Okay, excellent. So I think in the beginning you mentioned some of the mega trends that are changing our society, and some of these trends are also with digitalization of the mobility sector, for instance, connectivity, people being connected anytime, anywhere. It will change as well the way that people want to choose their way of transported. And I think we have seen disruption in other sectors where the consumers are changing behavior very rapidly. And I think in the mobility sector we will also see that. I think it's a matter of, we have been asking consumers, what about connectivity? Do you want connected services? And there, 85% of we asked 12,000 car users, and they said yes, they would like these services. So they're ready to embrace it, but the automation is maybe a step further.
And what do you say, and I'd be interested also from you, Mr. Jonat, in hearing your response. Martin Kabel says he's not sure that the benefits are really greater than the cost.
I think 10 years ago people said, who the hell wants to pay 600 euros for a smartphone? So I think we see changes in the technology that is meeting the consumer demand, and the consumer demand is changing. So I think the fact that people are getting more informed about the choices available, they will quicker demand new services, and services will have to be made available by new service providers or existing service providers.
Mr. Jonat.
I completely agree with Jakob. Now, first of all, when you said, are we pushing this technology, I don't think you can push anything. Yeah? At the end of the day, it's the consumer, the citizen, who decides whether he or she buys it or not. And I think in the automotive industry is a consumer-facing industry. Yeah? So we need, in first instance, to listen to what this consumer, the citizen, want. Okay? And when it comes to buying vehicles, there are really three important drivers for consumers when they buy vehicles. One is the cost. I mean, whatever can contribute to reducing the cost is of importance to them. Second is safety. Yeah? And three is convenience. So, and that's where I see the biggest opportunities when it comes to connectivity and leveraging connectivity technology. So if we can come up with those technologies and are better able to communicate how this could help driving fuel efficiency, how this could further enhance safety, and how it really could make mobility more efficient, because connected cars, especially cars connected with infrastructure, allow to or will contribute to better and more effective traffic management, then I think we're going to make a big step forward, because then we will be able to establish that through this connectivity technology, we're going to better meet the needs of citizens. That's what is going to, be the key driver here.
Magda Kopczynska, you wanted to add?
What Eric just said, obviously the question of, one can discuss which are the 3 factors or 5 factors that will decide the future. I think safety is unquestioned, but I'm really not sure whether people are now interested in a more sophisticated car and more connected car. That's why I said it's really the question of explaining what are the benefits that can come with a connected car. But don't mistake me. I don't personally believe that a connected car is something that will solve the most important issue for any person. That is the question of the mobility. A connected car will only be a part of the answer we need to have to keep trying to create a more sustainable, more efficient, easier to use mobility system throughout Europe. And of course, this is the biggest advantage of a connected car. A connected car will become a part of that system by definition, and it will be much easier to look into different new ways of mobility around. But again, let's not undermine the importance of having a dialogue with the users, with consumers, to make sure that they understand why this specific connected car or in future autonomous car can be better for them. But it will not mean that we have to tell them, now you give up whatever types of mobility you have, public transport, biking, walking, trains, buses and trams, and go for connected cars because they will solve all your problems. They won't. So I think the question of a comprehensive discussion and dialogue at all levels between politicians, decision makers, but also with the consumers and end users is absolutely crucial.
So, Martin Kabel, would you say your reservations about potential benefits are based on concerns about congestion, concerns about carbon dioxide emissions, because of course these cars theoretically could also be electric vehicles, therefore not clear that this is necessarily an environmental burden? Where do the concerns lie, and are you sure that you have all the information at hand to make a clear judgment about costs and benefits?
I think I'm very certain that I don't have all the information. I'm very certain that we need more information, and we need not only more answers, but probably also a lot more questions being asked. How will this affect our cities and our societies? My concern is a little of it all, a little mix. I mean, the impacts are very much related to what kind of scenario a future city with automated vehicles will look like. If we take a look at personal transport, will the automated vehicle only replace one individual car as we see it today? Then have we gained so much? have we really, I mean, congestion-wise, we will still have way too many cars on the streets in most of our cities. We will still have all the congestion problems. And as such, the autonomous vehicle will not give an answer to the aim of creating a more livable and viable city. And in that view, I think for most cities, most compact cities, most European cities, walking, cycling, public transport will still be the backbone. If we talk about a scenario where the autonomous car is part of a integrated system, integrated with public transport and with car sharing, then yes, I can definitely see some perspectives there that can be used in our cities and in city planning. So from my point, it's not it's not about the technology. It's about what kind of benefits can we actually get out of it, and of course push it in the direction where we will actually have as many benefits as possible. Because there's no doubt that traffic safety, for instance, as you say, Eric, will be one of the issues where I think there could be something gained. But I'm very certain that I don't have all the information and that we haven't raised all the questions needed to be raised yet.
Let me ask our two automobile representatives perhaps to address a couple of those points, and I'll add something in addition along the lines of devil's advocacy. I've just been at a large conference in preparation for Habitat 3, which will take place this fall, and several participants there, including Jeffrey Sachs, the very well-known UN Sustainable Development Goals supporter, and also somebody, of course, who's taught a great deal in this area, as well as one of the leading climate researchers in the world, both said, basically, in the future, cities need to become automobile-free. A fairly radical statement, but they were convinced that that is the direction of the future. How would you answer what you just heard from Martin Kabel and a claim like that?
I believe that what is needed is having an intelligent mobility system where you use the best of all the modes of transport. And I believe that there will still be a need for the car in that mobility system. There's not a need to be alone in your car driving to the city center every day, like I see it in Brussels. And that is one of the huge problems, that we don't have the needed integration of the modes and the needed framework conditions to have an intelligent working transport system. I don't think that the people who are queuing in their car in Brussels, I don't think that they do it because they love to sit in their car in the queue. I think they do it because they don't have a convenient alternative. And that's the convenient alternative we have to give them. And that could be that they park outside the city and they take public transport into the city. But that is not the case in many of the cities throughout Europe, that we have this convenient integration. And I don't believe in making restrictions or making the systems break down that like some cities have done. I think this just leads to total frustration about the transport system, and that's not a solution. The solution is to get the users on board and to give them some intelligent offers.
Eric, you want to feel free to speak to that point also, if you...
In a lot of these discussions, there's a lot of dogmatism, yeah? Because people like to hear that, and that's what they're going to say. At the end of the day, vehicles are a means to an end. They have been created in order to provide mobility solutions. We know that today there are mobility challenges, and we need to try to find more effective ways to drive mobility. And as Jacob said, the future will be one of more integrated mobility solutions, where different transport modes will come together, public-private transport. That's why also a lot of the vehicle manufacturers are currently exploring also new solutions, like car sharing or ride sharing. Because especially when we look at mobility questions in the urban areas, we're going to need to probably look for different solutions. Yeah? And again, even when you talk public transport, you need vehicles, right? If you talk buses, we have, in fact, I mean, let's not disregard, because we talk only in this context about people transport, but there is also goods transport, freight transport. Cities are lively economies. they need access to goods. Yeah? Logistics companies need to be able to deliver their goods. Yeah? So you know, currently cities without mobility solutions or without even some vehicles, I don't see that as an option. But again, I think integrated mobility solutions are going to be the future, and their connectivity can be a trigger. That's one thing. Second thing I want to kind of at least add here in the discussion, let's not confuse ourselves by using different terminology. I mean, I hear connected cars, I hear autonomous driving cars, they're not the same. Yeah? In one, you have no drivers. With connected cars, you know, connected cars do not necessarily, or are not necessarily autonomous or driverless. So we are currently, you see the automotive industry currently focusing big time on the potential of connectivity because they see the biggest consumer benefits in there. And gradually we are evolving towards more highly automated vehicles or ultimately autonomous driving vehicles. But we are not yet there. And everybody is still looking at, you know, what are the best solutions. There's a lot of testing being done as well, across Europe as well as globally. And I think one, I mean, coming back to the point made earlier, do we know all the facts? I think there's a lot of pilot projects which have taken place across Europe. Now it's time to capture the learnings from all these pilot projects and see how we can turn these learnings, these insights into real action.
So we have been endeavoring to capture some wisdom of the crowd that's with us here, and we did put an audience question to all of you, and a lot of you have apparently already answered. If you haven't yet answered, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to give you a very brief moment now to do so. Here's our question. You can see it displayed up here on the screen. And it basically is also looking at whether you think consumer acceptance is the key factor in achieving broader deployment, or whether other issues are at least as important. And so here's the question. The most important barriers to rapid deployment of automated mobility are A, technological gaps, B, liability, regulations, and standards, C, absence of a clear business case, D, consumer acceptance. So if you haven't voted yet, go ahead and do it. And meanwhile, we're going to cast an eye on the results that we see in front of us. And interestingly enough, the smallest share actually sees consumer acceptance as the problem.
Melinda, the order is different on the screen.
Oh, it's different on the screen. Okay. Huh.
Sorry.
Right. Okay. Because they've reordered it according to the share of the vote. Okay, very good. So, the largest share of those who have voted see liability, regulations, and standards as the main barrier, and then consumer acceptance coming in number 2, lack of a business case a close third, and technological gaps the least. Okay, so the technology, people clearly not too worried about that falling into place, but much more concerned about liability, regulations, and standards. Magda Kupczycka, do you think that's right? Are we lagging behind on that?
Lagging behind is probably not the right phrase, but what we clearly see is that this is still a new area, and I know that for everybody here in this room, we have been discussing connected vehicles or potential autonomous vehicles for quite a while. But if you look at the scale of things, it's only been in the last couple of years that we really started to believe that it is possible to see connected cars on the streets and roads, not just in the EU, but globally. We now have the industry commitment that in 2019, cars that will be capable of functioning in the connected environment will already be there, that they will be available on the market. So I think this question about liability and standards and regulatory framework is more an expression of a bit of uncertainty, whether we have the framework that will make it possible, which is why we have been working, and I think 100% of people who have been working with us on the CITS master plan are here actually in this room for the last 20 months, we've been discussing with stakeholders, with member states, what are the questions that need to be answered to make sure that connected driving happens. Morten, I'll send you the report. You will have at least some answers to many of your questions, and probably even more questions in that report. And what is clear now is that we know a lot, we know many of the answers, we still need to make sure that we use the right instruments to address those answers. The question of not over-regulating, because then we may end up in a situation when we actually stop things from happening, but on the other hand, we need a framework that will guarantee safety, that will help to address the liability issues, that will help to deal with the privacy issues, and that will also help the industry to keep coming up with new solutions. But again, for me, that answer is more a reflection of a lot of question marks that everybody still has.
And I want to raise a couple of those also concerning standards and regulation. But let me first ask Morten Kabel, in terms of a holistic, a systemic approach to transport policy that perhaps would envisage the kind of generalized scheme that you talk about where different modes all fit into an effective whole. What kind of policy tools do you have to work with to get there? What do you see as imperative to get the kind of policies in place that we need for connected mobility in general, where automated vehicles maybe are one part of the picture?
First of all, of course, a clear focus on efficiency and mobility, and of course also a recognition of that there is difference to where do you live. Do you live in a rural area? Do you live in a compact city? There are different modes of transport. I mean, the car is a great invention in many ways, but for a compact city, it's probably one of the worst inventions Homo sapiens have ever made. And that's one of the reasons I say so is simply because the space in an urban area is a very scarce commodity, and we need to be more efficient than we are today. When we're talking about cars, then for many of them are, I mean, it's you are one and one and one and one and one, and then at number 18 or something, then you're two persons in that car. That's highly inefficient for the use of space in a compact city like Copenhagen. So there, of course, I need to be able, also regulatory-wise, to set up a framework that says we need alternatives. And for those who don't have an alternative, then go ahead, drive your car in the city. That's cool. But for all those whose only excuse is that they are, excuse the language, too lazy to drop out of their car and to use public transport or bicycle, then I'm sorry, but then I have to use the stick and not the carrot. Even a cartload of carrots will not be able to make that transformation, but a few sticks will do.
Let me ask both of our car guys on the panel to address perhaps another element of regulation and standards, namely testing and safety certifications. The New York Times business section today has a big article on this as a potential barrier, saying that at the moment we do not have a clear sense of how to do the safety bit of it. Do you think that that is true, or would you say they're missing some data?
So I don't know exactly what you mean with the testing. With the testing of
automated driving, and
whether
we fully understand the potential risks and how we get the kind of certification that could create public confidence.
We are, at the moment, we are a member of Euro NCAP. We're one of the founders of Euro NCAP, which is known for its crash testing of new cars, but mainly for passive safety. And we are looking into now automated cars and support safety systems where we want to see how can we do the testing of these systems, which is rather complicated. And then we are looking into also what do we do with autonomous vehicles when they come, how do we test them for crash testing. And it's very complicated. For the testing, if you mean trials, if that's kind of testing, then I think we already see that in the US that they have been doing a lot of testing. We see also that in Europe that there are areas, the growing number of areas where they want to do testing, and more and more interest in doing the testing. I think that's it's something that can help the industry, and I think it's something that also can show the users, the end users, that it actually works. You see these cars in traffic. It's not just something that we see at an ITS Congress. It's actually something that is driving the street, and it's not so dangerous. And even an autonomous vehicle is not as dangerous, and as some who might never have seen one might think. It's already quite dangerous to be in your car in traffic today. So I think autonomous vehicles would bring the number of fatalities drastically down, but still there would probably be fatalities. So it's a matter of the perception among the citizens, what they think is danger.
You mentioned FIA's role in this. In fact, within motorsport technology, there is obviously quite a bit of experience with the technology and with support systems. And in that way, FIA is very much part of the technological push that I talked about at the outset of the panel. Would you say there is a very clear business case here as well? 23% think it is not quite worked out. Obviously, for you coming from motorsport, it's there. But is it there in a larger sense?
The business case is definitely there in the motorsport for us, because we want to improve the safety side of what we do. And there we have introduced now the virtual safety car, for instance, which is using a kind of an ISA system to bring all cars at the same speed in case of an accident. And we also have, that is in Formula One, in endurance racing, we also have a local danger warning system where car-to-car communication in case of a crash ahead. So for us, there's definitely a business case in making the track safer for all the drivers. When it comes to the road cars, that we hope, of course, there's a spillover of some of the investments that our teams are doing, especially in Formula One. It's high investment in the technologies, and that's why we also introduced the curse system, for instance, trying to help the manufacturers to introduce some energy recovering system in road cars. So we hope that we are working closely with manufacturers on this, and we have a manufacturers commission discussing these things as well, and so on. Yeah, that maybe Eric.
Indeed. Eric Jonert, how in fact do you make sure that you don't get out too far ahead of either where the business case is or what consumers want?
By staying in touch with the consumer, the ultimate consumer. At the end of the day, as I said before, you're not going to push vehicles for people's throat. I mean, either there is a need, otherwise anyway, the cost, the purchase cost of a car is high. Often, when you look at it, the biggest investment people are making is first their house. The second biggest is often their vehicle. Yeah? So people do not go lightly over purchasing a car. So it needs to meet a need first. Yeah? And that's again with this technology. That there is a business case, I think the number of participants to this ITS Congress prove there is a business case. Yeah? So there are a lot of players here, not only just the OEMs, the automotive manufacturers. There are a lot of suppliers who see lots of potential in there. Again, not only in the area of transporting of people, because we have the tendency to focus a lot on that, but also when it comes to transport of goods. And that's why we have welcomed the initiative taken by the Dutch presidency to organize this European truck platooning challenge, where we had an opportunity, first of all, to demonstrate the potential of the technology, yeah? But also to work and start to see with the logistics companies what's in there for them. Because at the end, there's a lot of goods which are transported over the road. I mean, I think around 75%, if not more. because it's seen as more cost-effective and more efficient than other transport modes. And so, again, connectivity, like through truck platooning, can offer potential in the future.
I'm glad you brought it up because, in fact, that's exactly where we want to go now. We have an audience question on freight as well. Many experts, of course, do believe that the best business case is in the area of the freight sector, at least for now. So let's see if the audience agreed with that. Could we get the slide, please, on the freight question? And dear audience members, if you haven't voted on this one yet, then please do so. Can we see the results on that one? There we go. So our question was, automated trucks will make up the majority of freight transport. Number 1 by 2050, number 2 by 2035, never was number 3, and number 4 was by 2025. So clearly the majority thinks it's a longer term proposition or not at all, and just 12% think that this is something that we're going to see happen in the near future. As we heard, Dutch presidency, Magda Kopczynska has put quite a bit of visibility onto this. Where would your opinion be on that ranking? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just hesitating whether I should answer a question or not. So it's not doesn't come as a Commission official position on automated trucks, but I think this is really the heart of the matter. We have this tendency to talk about connected and automated in one go, but since the question is about automated autonomous
freight.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could talk about vocabulary now, but I think a fully autonomous driverless vehicle, be it a truck or be it a personal vehicle, will see the biggest challenge in coexisting in a transport system where there will be a mix of driverless and driver-led vehicles, and probably that's why the tendency would be to think it's a bit further off future. But we have this concept of different levels of automation, and when I talk to be it member states or stakeholders, there is indeed a lot of testing going on across the EU, sometimes going to as high as level 4 of automation, which means almost everything is there except for the fact that the driver is still in the cabin. What the Dutch presidency tested was again a system where drivers were still in the trucks, and the idea was to see how efficient the platoon can go on and whether distances can be capped and whether the ICT system works. But I think still the challenge of having another transport system with non-autonomous vehicles coexisting with an autonomous one makes it quite a long distance challenge still.
Martin Kabel, does the idea of autonomous freight delivery do more for you? Do you think there would be a greater demand for that in your city, for example, and where would you fall on this ranking?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't know what I would have asked or would have answered to that. And as such, I mean, it's not the principle of driverlessness that I'm against or that I'm skeptical about, because that can be in many ways cool and great, and no problems without it, no problems about it. I mean, and I definitely think that it will be accepted as well. In the 90s, when we built the first stages of Copenhagen's metro system, people were like, are we going to have a driverless metro? I'll never set my foot in that. That was more or less the response from a lot of people. Today, nobody bats an eye, and everybody is like, yeah, of course it is, and I really enjoy being able to sit in the front and look out. And I think in many ways the response will be the same among the general populace. Some will be afraid, skeptical. Will this actually be safer? But if you can actually prove that the same safety measures apply for driverless transport, then I think in a very short time it will be accepted. And as you said, well, they're already out there in some places. So I don't see that problem. And I mean, but it is important that we can actually guarantee that at least the same level of safety can be obtained by the driverless vehicles. in a bicycle city like Copenhagen, we have seen accidents, fatalities of right-turning trucks driving over bicycles because they didn't notice the bicycle. And obviously, we've really been working with that to reducing the number to almost 0 today per year. But for us, then it'll be imperative that we can guarantee at least the same level of safety. If we can that, then I don't think, then it won't be the driverlessness that'll be a problem or an issue at all.
Certainly, the efforts to increase visibility for the area of autonomously driven freight do seem to be having an effect on acceptance. That would be purely anecdotal from my point of view, but what I can see in the media is more and more publication and then perhaps corroborating the idea that if we get more facts out there, people will be more inclined. So I'd like to ask the two of you once again where you would fall on that chart. We've lost it for now, but where we had 2050 now at 40% think it's not going to be till 2050, if at all. How do the two of you see it?
Well, if we talk autonomous driving...
Autonomous freight, majority of vehicles on the roads. That was the question.
I personally, I have no clue. We are struggling enough with the cars, so... but I think that what we see happening at the moment, with that, in that respect, with the connectivity available and so on, I think that we will see the next 10 to 15 years a lot of changes when it comes to automated and autonomous driving. I think it will probably go faster than we think. And if we look back 15 years ago, what we had there, or what we didn't have there, like the iPhone and the way we use Google, like all the things that today for us, like Netflix, like Spotify, like everything that we today consider as normal when we watch television, listen to music, when we look at our emails and so on. And this did not exist 15 years ago. And with the change for the next 15 years, I think there will be more changes in the automotive sector than we've seen for the last 100 years. That's one thing. But for the automated trucks, I think it should be up to
We'll pass
those
it over
dealing
to
with it.
Eric Bonnet, because he's mentioned it several times. Would you think that we'd see an earlier adoption than what the audience is currently predicting?
Look, the technology is there for allowing mono-brand truck platooning. What I mean, only the Volvo trucks or the Daimler trucks, multi-brand truck platooning, which is of course going to be important for the logistics companies. They don't have only one brand. They want to work with several brands. So multi-brand platooning will better meet the needs of the customer. And so there we are not yet. We need to kind of agree, also within the industry, on one communications protocol so that all these trucks can communicate with each other. So this is work we just started, also with support from the Commission. But that will not take ages. Now, does that then mean that this truck platoons will really become daily practice on our highways across Europe? No, it's not because the technology will allow for it that you're going to be able to do it, because there are quite a few regulatory obstacles still to be addressed. And that was one of the insightful learnings from this European truck platooning challenge, where the issue was not so much at the European level, because too often we say we need, another initiative from the European Commission. But where we saw one of the issues, for instance, in the truck platoon was at the national level. Traffic rules are still a national responsibility. The traffic codes are managed at a national level, and they have different requirements between member states. I mean, the distance between the trucks as defined in Germany was different than in France, was different than in Belgium, was different than in the Netherlands. In order to make this truck platooning project possible, we needed authorizations from the transport authorities in each member state. The way these authorizations were provided was again different from country to country. In one country you needed the signature of the transport minister, in other countries the administration or the ministry could take care of it. So there are a lot of this, you could say, hands-on obstacles which need to be addressed. And again, this was one of the benefits of this track platooning challenge, that we have identified them, we mapped them out, and now it's a question of we, industry, to work on multi-brand platooning, looking at how we can move forward on a communications protocol which allows multi-brand track platooning, and then governments, through exchange of best practices, how can you streamline traffic codes to really make this possible?
Are there other areas where you would say stakeholders within the industry need to be working together in different ways or taking on different roles? And if so, what are key aspects there?
Yes. I think that was mentioned already in earlier interventions. But what you see through this whole, you could call it the digitalization of transport, is that it will force the automotive industry to work much more closely together with other sectors. And you will increasingly see even a convergence of sector. Telecom is, for instance, one of those sectors. Because especially when you talk connectivity, you talk network coverage, you want to make sure that when you drive from one country to another, all of a sudden, the network coverage is no longer guaranteed, for instance. Yeah? So this requires working together with other sectors. I know the telecom sector has been focusing on the mobile phones, like Jaap was referring to it. In the future, it's going to be interesting for telecom sector also to look at connectivity as another business model, to offer their services through. But that requires working together. IT sector, again, we can learn from others as well in this journey, and we're going to have to work more closely with others.
Let me ask you, Magda Kopczynska, as a last word, because we are getting toward the end of our time, but the Commission has now published the Connected Vehicle Platform report earlier this year. Is that the start of a planned move toward policies and regulations for highly automated vehicles, or is it perhaps just a kind of a test balloon?
Well, not really. I wouldn't. No, it's definitely not. I just don't know which part of your question to answer first. That's why I'm hesitating. First of all, it is a strategy clearly addressing the question of connected driving and cooperative systems. On purpose, we don't talk much in it with regards to autonomous automated vehicles because that was not the objective of the group that worked on it. But it's definitely not the end of the process. You can take it indeed as a first stage. We heard a lot about the Dutch declaration, the Dutch presidency declaration on connected and automated driving. We'll be working, we are actually already working on the CITS master plan that should be there in the second half of this year, and you'll be hearing more from us because we'll be launching public consultations on that very soon. But I think the biggest challenge, and to some extent touched upon Eric, with regards to this new way looking at car-related transport, is that we are going beyond the usual areas, where the usual policy areas where we had to focus on stakeholders, insurance industry as a very important player, very much interested in the positive outcomes of having more information on the car behavior and on the driver behavior. You can also mention, for example, public transport operators, because indeed they may be interested in offering new type of mobility services that will take use or take advantage of the car becoming a part of the transport system. I'm coming back to where I started today. I think a good vision for the future is to say that the future transport systems will have to be connected, autonomous, shared, and based on zero-emission transport vehicles. And I think only with that we'll be able to address all those challenges that we have, the safety, efficiency, emissions, better organized cities, but also better organized long-distance transport. We should not forget that the role connected or autonomous vehicles in future can play will be slightly different in a city environment and in a long-distance transport.
Thank you very much. I see Martin Kabel nodding. Anything you would
Well, I think the mission is very clear. I very much agree with Magda, and I think it's great that actually the report has been done and all the work there, and we really have to learn from in the cities. For us, it's immensely important that regardless of what kind of strategy that'll be followed, that it can actually support the cities of Europe in our efforts to go carbon neutral, to be more efficient, and basically be more livable, because it is about the people that live in the cities. It's all about them.
Thank you very much. Perfect last words for our discussion. Many thanks to all of you for being with us. Let's give them a warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And I will let you return to your seats so that you can watch the last activities in our opening session. Our ITS World Congresses, ladies and gentlemen, are of course very important, not only to bring stakeholders together to talk about the political and institutional and technological factors that are driving deployment, as we have just done, but also because there is so much truly innovation taking place at an absolutely breathless pace. And as you know, it takes cooperation to get ITS deployed, and it takes vision to get these technologies developed. So that is what we now want to recognize in the final part of our ceremony. We would like now to celebrate the achievement of visionary researchers and scientists. It is time for this year's ITS Best Paper Awards, and I'd like to invite the Program Committee co-chairman on stage. That's George Gillespie, Glasgow City Council, Andrew Davidson, Transport Scotland, and Didier Guterman from Ertico. I'd like to ask all of you to please join me here on stage to help present the awards. So, gentlemen, if you'll just come here toward the middle. Thank you very much. It is now my great honor to begin by announcing the first award for Best Paper, and it goes to Igor Passier. He is Senior Transport Technical Specialist at TAS International in the Netherlands, a developer of simulation software, testing facilities, and engineering services for smarter, safer, and greener vehicles. And his winning paper is entitled The Dutch CITS Reference Architecture, and the award will be received on his behalf by Paul Potters. Paul Potters, would you please join us on stage? And congratulations to Igor Passier on his behalf. Congratulations to you, and we wish you and him much success in your future work. Thank you very much. And now, our second Best Paper Award goes to Paula I hope I say this right, Sirajorina at the University of Tampere in Finland for her work on traffic signals, bus data analysis, and data plotting. Her paper is entitled Incident Detection Based on Bus Data, and Jukka Lintusari will receive the award on her behalf. Please join us on stage. Congratulations. So, very warm congratulations and best wishes for success. And also to the whole research team at the University of Tampere. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings our opening ceremony and first plenary to a close, and that means it is time to declare the 11th ITS European Congress officially open for business. May I ask all of our speakers, all of you please, to join me on stage to cut the ribbon. And that really does mean the entire front row, more or less. Everyone who took part in our opening ceremony, please come on stage. We've got scissors for all of you. And they're fairly lethal-looking scissors at that, so... Okay, and now we're going to unfurl this beautiful pink ribbon. And when I say cut, ladies and gentlemen, you may please step forward and do the honors. Cut. Bravo. So that is the official opening of the 11th ITS European Congress, and on behalf of the City of Glasgow, unfortunately the exuberant Bailey Liz Cameron had to leave us a bit earlier, so she would have invited you personally, but on behalf of the City, it is my great pleasure to invite all of you to attend the evening reception that celebrates the opening of the Congress, and in fact you can do so simply by following the Piper. He's about to return and lead us out, and I wish everybody a wonderful evening and hope to see you back here bright and early for the second plenary of the Congress, which does begin tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in this room. So we will take a closer look there at the challenges of creating a truly digital city, not to be missed. In the meantime, enjoy yourselves, have a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow, and now follow the Piper. Bye-bye.